I'm gonna go ahead and click record.
I was able to get in.
Good, good, good. Oh, yeah, you were able to get in once I admitted you, Erickson. So, in any event, today, what is today's date, guys? Today is Friday, April
Third.
3rd, right? Today is the 3rd of April. This is the weekly wrap up, we're calling it. I got two classmates here, or two students here participating. And as I was saying to them, let me go ahead and share my screen. The idea here is to just kind of do a summary of the week that just went by, make sure we know exactly what we should have picked up content-wise, and then maybe even look ahead to next week. And once that's done, take any questions that Erickson and Winnie might have. So just to kind of recap, the topics for this week were operations with radicals in lesson 7-5. And that is exactly what it sounds like. You're basically performing different operations, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division with radical expressions. And you learn all kinds of stuff. Like you learn that when you multiply radical expressions, they don't have to have the same radicand or index. Well, actually, I take that back. They don't have to have the same radicand, and they don't have to have the same number outside the radicand. But when it comes to addition and subtraction, it's kind of like terms. They do. So anyway, it's a really rich lesson, and there was lots of practice assigned throughout the week. So hopefully you feel good about that lesson on radical expressions. And then 7-6 was about rational exponents. Again, that's kind of a fancy way of just talking about instances where you're raising some value to a power, but that power is no longer just an integer. It's now some kind of fraction. So at this point, today's Friday, you should definitely know how to take a rational exponent and translate that to a radical expression, and vice versa. Go from a radical expression over to a rational exponent. And that takes us to what is due today, which is the Chapter 7 summative test. And as of right now, 21 people have already turned that in. The due date for that is today, and the due time for that is 5 p.m., I think. And I'll double check that in a minute. But the scores have been pretty strong. The average is a 12.6 out of 16. The median is really close, and then the range is not as broad as one would fear. So that's good. The lowest score so far has been a 7.5. Let's go to a couple of specifics. Just a couple of reminders. Dr. Wisdom keeps reminding us, and did so yesterday, that this work is not optional, that all students are continuing to be encouraged to participate, and the grades can and will change depending on successful completion of these assignments that we're extending. So that's really important to understand. Here again is the table that hopefully people are using in order to know when to join the Zoom sessions. And obviously, Erickson and Winnie, I'm preaching to the choir because you figured it out. You used this link and you're on now. What I was saying about lessons 7-5 and 7-6, all of that happened on Monday and Tuesday. And all of this work was done in your class notes, like it would have been done if we were in school. And then by Wednesday, there's more good news to share. I asked people to go and sign up for a Delta Math account, and we'll be using that 2 days next week. So as of today, a ton of people here have signed up for it. You can see that in the different classes. Period 6 is ahead of the game, although period 2 only has about 20-something students, maybe 23 students. So I'm just waiting on periods 1 and periods 4 to catch up and sign in for a Delta Math account. That is an assignment. It's an actual assignment, so you want to make sure and you do that. Khan Academy went very well. I think we were over 94% of students turned in their Khan Academy assignments this week, and the averages were pretty high. So that's another thing to feel good about. This New York Times activity, I think out of 111 students, 85 students submitted that. And that was, I wish those numbers were higher, but I do feel good about those students who turned that in, and had really great noticings and wonderings, and read the reveal and read the stat nuggets. And we'll look at that if you guys don't mind in a minute. So that was fantastic. And of course, there is a Chapter 7 test due today by 5 p.m. And you submit that on Google Forms. And as I was pointing out earlier to Erickson, the feature that lets you take a picture of your work and upload it is working beautifully. So I was nervous about that, but that nervousness was unfounded. So let me pause for just a second. Winnie and Erickson, do you guys have any questions before I go forward?
No.
Erickson, you good?
I'm good.
Excellent. So that was kind of a summary of what went down this week. Let me just kind of share some stuff that I didn't have a chance to talk about. Uh, this is the graph that appeared on the New York Times article, and I have to be honest with you, it had not even occurred to me that this graph is not even based on real data. This is, as the author of this article, Sharon Hesney, reveals, this is a mathematical model. And so a lot of students, I think, feel betrayed by that. They're like, what do you mean it's not based on real data? Well, before COVID-19 really kind of took hold and began to proliferate, we had to make predictions about how bad could this be, this spread of this pandemic. So you have to have mathematical models that project what is likely to happen. And if you scroll down in this article, by now you should know that there's this reveal portion where she reveals really what's inside this graph and why it's important. And many of you seem to understand that the real point behind the graph is to do what's called flatten the curve and slow down the spread of infection. What's really kind of cool here is that there is a link to a simulation provided here from the Washington Post, and it provides a bunch of simulations here. And I certainly understand that we're on information overload with coronavirus, and I'm not trying to add fuel to the fire, but I certainly want you to know that next week when we talk about exponential relationships, this is exactly what we're talking about. I mean, this is a classic exponential curve where the values don't look like they're really increasing by much, and then suddenly there's this massive, massive jump in cases. So this is actual data here, beginning on January 22nd and ending on March 13th. And you can see that this is no joke. This is not a linear increase. This is certainly not a radical increase. So it's very timely and bizarre that we happen to be studying exponential relationships next week, because that's exactly what's going on. And then if you get a chance to kind of look through the simulations, you'll see that they are just kind of using a simulation to talk about how when a sick person, this is a fake disease called simulitis, bumps into a healthy person, now you have this chain reaction of folks getting sick. And then the simulations kind of get more complex. All these dark dots are people that are ill, and they are just kind of in some random fashion, just like with this disease, interacting with healthy individuals. And you can see the spread is pretty frightening. The good news is, as you work through this page, they show what it looks like to have a quarantine. Okay, so how these quarantines can help prevent the spread of disease. Here, what's happening is, through some random factor, people that were quarantined in a premature way get out into the general population. So there's a lot of misinformation. I know a lot of you, unfortunately, get your news from social media. But there are good outlets like the New York Times, like Washington Post, like the CDC, Center for Disease Control, that are showing what it can mean to practice social distancing and why this sacrifice that everyone is making is so critical. So I just thought it'd be interesting if folks wanted to head over here to this Washington Post simulation and check it out. The only other thing I wanted to do before I open it up for questions is do a quick preview of next week. So I have not posted this yet online. I won't do so till this weekend. But Erickson and Winnie, you're getting a preview. This is the game plan for next week, April 6th to April 10th. Incidentally, I have some good news, which is that as of now, April vacation has not been canceled. So it is very likely, things can certainly change, but as of right now, we will have our April break. So I think that's going to be an important time for people to have like a mental health break and just disconnect from all this online learning. But for next week, these are the big topics. We're actually going to spend 3 days just making sure we really understand the content from chapter 7. And we'll do that in 2 ways. One of them is to look at SAT questions that all come from chapter 7. The second is to explore and to use this Delta Math website, which has beautiful, beautiful problems that are different from Khan Academy and actually align to our textbook a lot better. And then at the end of the week, Thursday and Friday, we jump into these exponential functions and relationships. So this is what it looks like in the table. The work that you have to do next week is front loaded. So the assignments that you're passing in are all being handed in Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And then the exploration part happens Thursday and Friday. So I'm trying to keep the format consistent, trying to give you different ways to kind of look at content, not just listening to videos, but using different sites, using different media. And I hope that it's effective ultimately. So that's it. That's all I have on my menu. I'm going to open it up back to Winnie and Erickson. And guys, you can ask math questions from this week. You can ask questions about the test that's due today, even though I can't give you solutions to the test. I could certainly help you understand what I'm asking. But the floor is yours. What's on your minds?
So I know how we're gonna be using Delta Math. Are we gonna revisit Alchemist?
Oh no.
Yeah. I don't know if the microphone picked up Winnie's answer to that. Winnie's answer was, oh no. So the answer, Erickson, is in all likelihood, yes, we will be revisiting Alchemist. For those that don't know, Alchemist is a website that we've been using from the Art of Problem Solving, and I've only been using it with my honor sections. The problems are generally really, really challenging, and it is not Khan Academy. There's no video there to help you. What happens is if you get a question wrong, it will provide the solution, but sometimes that solution is really sophisticated, and so even when you see the answer in front of you, it's not obvious what's happening. But the way I've justified it is to let my honor students know that they are getting more credit for the course. Your course grade is weighted more heavily than a regular course. So Erickson, my answer to you is yes, we'll be revisiting Alchemist. The question is when. It has to be an appropriate use of it. I don't want to just assign random lessons on there. And I also don't want to overload you with screen time right now. So that's why I've kind of avoided it for now. But if we continue this distance learning, Erickson, for the next few weeks, you can expect to see a return to Alchemist at some point. Okay?
All right, thank you.
You got it. You got it. Keep going, folks. Any other questions that you have? It could be, you could have me work out math problems. You could ask general questions, whatever.
Um, so you said eventually we're gonna get weekend work, or
Are you asking whether we're going to get weekend work?
yeah, asking, I'm asking.
Yeah. Right now, Erickson, and again, talk about things changing quickly, right? Right now, my mentality is no, I'm not at this point interested in assigning weekend work. Simply because like I'm watching my own son, my 14-year-old, he is doing distance learning as well, but his format is that he has to log into Zoom multiple times a day. Every single one of his teachers is having regular classes. So my point is to say that he's getting a lot of screen time. Not only is he interacting with his teachers via computer, but he's doing the majority of his work. So I'm a little bit nervous about excessive screen time for you guys. That's why actually I was so excited that you were able to submit 2 of your answers on today's test by doing work on paper. Like I'm just desperate to get you away from a computer and let you spend some time with pencil and paper again. So the answer is right now, Erickson, I don't want to assign weekend work. I really think it's important to have that mental health break. I'm quite sure other classes are still assigning work over the weekend. So I'm just trying to, with you, establish some balance. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Most definitely. Winnie, what's on your mind?
I'm just trying to look for questions.
Certainly. Yeah. And by the way, I hope neither of you feel like I'm asking you to play a role. If there aren't questions, that's fine too. I mean, one of the things that occurred to me was, and you guys can actually let me know what you think about this. It is possible that the way I'm presenting content is eliminating a lot of the questions that could arise. Like if we were in class, I would go over a problem and that's it. Like if you didn't understand my explanation, you would have kind of missed out. Do you agree? Unless you spoke to your partners. With this format, the fact that my solutions are online, the fact that I frequently create videos to accompany those solutions makes it possible for people to pause, to review. So even though this is difficult, I think it has actually improved access to content for many, many students. So I don't necessarily look at it as a bad thing that people don't have as many questions as they normally would. I can actually show both of you. This is can you both see my YouTube channel screen?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll notice that, for instance, at the top, sorry, I'm just kind of moving some other screens around. At the top, these videos only have one view a piece because those are videos that I've not yet made available to you, right? Those are videos that I've created for next week. But the videos that I had for this week, some of them are getting some views, some of them not many, but like, there are videos that are in the 30s and 20s. So again, I don't want to read too much into that data. It's possible that people are watching the videos, pausing them and so forth. It's possible that people don't need the videos and they're actually content with the documents that I've posted. Whatever the case is, the quiz result from last week and the test result is telling me, at least for now, that people are making sense of content. Then again, when you have unlimited time at home, to take a quiz and test, not unlimited, but more than you would have in class, it's possible that some of the anxiety people have is gone. So they're just performing better because they don't feel that stress anymore. Well, it is now 9:26. Both of you are welcome to stay on. Because we've kind of hit this point of silence, I'm going to stop the recording in a minute if I can figure out how. And then the rest of the session, we can just have kind of an informal conversation if that's cool with you too. Any objections?
No.
I'm fine with it.
Okay, so let me just stop the recording.